Taylor is a part of the Oregon Remembrance Project.
And we're here with Renee Browse.
And we are with Eddie Carrillo. So we are here with Michael Austin. Michael Austin is with Just Compassion. This morning with our special guest, Aaron Earlywine. We are talking this morning about immigration.
You know, I think to do this work, you have to have what I call unrelenting hope. And for me, part of that unrelenting hope is this belief that no matter where you go, you can find enough people who are willing to choose justice if given the opportunity.
And this is we end up dehumanizing people.
There is no greater determination of the value of life than the lives we are willing to take.
She said, I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be looked down upon because of who you are. And so I am here to protect you and to help give you support to know that you are not hated by everyone.
Everyone, my name is Kevin Bates, and welcome to the next conversation. We are the Safe Neighbor Network team. As you can see, I'm up here with a group of people, and for our online crowd, welcome as well. We are with a live audience today, and so there is people in front of us, and then there's us here live in this lodge today, and we're grateful everyone is here. What we're doing as a network of people, this team, what we've decided, we've decided to do, is we're basically walking alongside families facing immigration detention. We're looking at families, helping families that are facing detention or in fear of detention, and helping them to prepare. We do have a mission. This is a brand new team. We decided to do this in light of what's happening in our world today. And we've come up with a simple mission, and that's basically fostering empowerment through preparation. So our job is to help people prepare. It's not our job to help, all the details of that preparation, and it's not our job to help people with all the aspects of what's happening in their life. But there are several things that we can help. And we've decided that this is the things that we are gifted in and that we can do. So empowering people to prepare their lives in case the unthinkable happens. I mean, nobody wants detention. Nobody wants to be deported or detained. And so we're trying to help people that if that happens, we're empowering them to have the best chance possible for success, whatever that success may be. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start with what this is and what this isn't today. Okay, I think that's important to kind of put the cards out on the table, what this is and what this isn't. Because we're going to have discussion around these tables. We're going to speak for a while and then have breaks for table talks. And in those table talks, this is what this isn't. This is not a debate. We're not debating anything here. And this is not about basically fixing all of the federal immigration problems that are out there as well. So it's not debating policies, and it's not debating whether or not the federal government policy is working or not working. This is not that. This is not about winning the argument of what we should be doing or should not be doing. We can talk about those things, but I don't want this to turn into an argument or a debate about those nuances or about those extremes as well. What this is reducing chaos for families and learning how to do that well. We want to reduce chaos for families that are facing real problems. Now, I look at this crowd and I see a demographic here, and most everybody here is not facing probably detainment or detention or deportation. So I'm just acknowledging that right now. And I want us here to acknowledge that in ourselves, in our speak and how we're talking about this subject. I think that it's really kind of irresponsible to think, oh, well, I need to like be angry about this like it's a personal thing. Just know that we can be allies and we can help people using our privilege, using our status, using our money, using our resources to help people in an effective way if we realize our place and if we know who we are and we know what we have. And that's it. So if you remember nothing else from today, remember this. This is about reducing chaos. And I believe that we and who we are can help people reduce chaos. So we believe chaos can traumatize children, definitely. Chaos can traumatize children, and we've seen that personally. This team here has encountered that personally, how traumatizing chaos can happen to children. Chaos is what fractures families, separates families. Chaos turns fear into panic, and chaos can do real harm in that panic, and people can die. So this is a very serious topic. Reducing chaos is a very serious action for us as a team. So policies are going to shift, policies are going to change, policies are going to be spoken about within a news cycle that's happening today that's different than tomorrow. And we have to remember that we are talking not about policy today, we're talking about people. And if we can get that right around the tables, I hope that we can make good progress today in our education of this topic, but also our action steps of what we can do. So we're talking about human beings. We're talking about real people, flesh and bone, right? We're talking about the same soul here is the same soul here. And so uncertainty becomes heavier when you realize we're talking about human beings. Most of us have never been in that kind of uncertainty. Most of us have never been in that kind of insecurity. And I hope that through this team and through the work that we're doing, which we've already started, that we can help people just find a sense of security, a sense of stability, and a sense of hope in what they're facing. So preparing doesn't mean that you want it to happen, right? So we have advanced directives of our lives. We have wills. We have documents that tell people, what to do in case. We pay for insurance, right? We pay for insurance and we hope it doesn't happen, but we have that insurance in place for a reason, right? It's not that we're wishing this would happen or want it to happen. It also doesn't mean that we're guilty of anything, right? Or we're a wrongdoer of any kind. It means that we're just preparing. It doesn't mean that you're surrendering hope or anything like that. So preparation and our action in preparation actually means that we just love people in our life enough to help them. We love people enough in our life. We love our neighbors enough in our life that we want to engage, to protect, and to provide for who they are. So if there's a knock on the door, the real enemy is not just legal risk at that point. The real enemy is actually confusion. The real enemy is confusion. And that's what we've learned through this process, is that confusion can really do some damage or can just create a chaos. So in the lack of confusion or bringing down confusion, we've answered certain questions. We've written documents. Everyone on this team has participated in compiling and writing documents to help families. And so who picks up the kids, right? Who gets them to school on a daily basis? Have we ever thought about that? Yeah, when our kids are sick or when we're out of town, yeah, we're arranging that. But how about if we were detained for months? Who's taking care of the kids? where are my documents? Where's my birth certificate? Where's my licenses? Where are the passcodes to my computer? Who has access to my bank accounts to pay my bills? Who's going to pay my mortgage? Who's going to pay my rent? Where's my car going to go for 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks? Who's going to pick up my car as it's sitting on the side of the road? Who calls the lawyer? Who picks up the phone and helps my legal stuff, right? Who engages these processes? So I believe that preparation turns that chaos, that panic, into organized steps that I think would draw down confusion. So this safe network, this Safe Neighbor Network exists to give families that clarity so that they don't enter into that confusion so easily. So some of us here, you might need this information personally because you have family and friends that you are directly connected to that need this work. And some of you may simply just have a kind neighbor that you know of a person that knows of a person that knows of a person that needs this work. So all of us belong here and all of us can help. No matter our politics or our beliefs of policy, we can all help in some way. And I think that people do need help right now. So today you're going to hear from all of us about compiling these materials. This is not theory. This is just facts, data, information, and we're a network of people that have walked through real scenarios. We've been in detention centers. We've talked to lawyers. This is all lawyer vetted that we are presenting to you. So lawyers, immigration lawyers have looked over this. And this is not just something that we woke up last night and thought was a cool idea. So we prepared this for months. And our hope is that children would be protected, families would be protected, our neighborhoods would be protected, and people in general would be protected. So we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about children advocacy and continuity today. We're going to talk about what adults need to put in place. And we're also going to talk about advocacy, agency, and allyship and what those actually mean in these cases. So I believe our posture is important, the posture of humility, the posture of grace and mercy, compassion, love, care of who our neighbor is. I believe that loving our neighbor is the greatest tool that we have to make all people rise. And when we love people, that honestly will help their dignity, it helps responsibility and accountability, it helps people feel belonging, and helps people feel like they're thriving. So you can prepare and have hope, you can prepare and advocate, you can prepare and still believe that we can have a better future, and you can prepare and not surrender to rhetoric. I believe preparation is strength, and that's what this team is all about. It's about love in action. It's about love in approach with curiosity, humility, and not headlines, but looking at people as human beings, flesh and blood. Know that if it is flesh and blood, it is not our enemy. And so we need to look at people as flesh and blood, that people are people. And some people, many people, I believe all people are doing the very best that they can with what they've been given. And hopefully in this team, we're giving them more so that they can do even better. So we're going to hear first from Jake. This is Jake Flug, Colleen Thompson, Kendall Leeper, and John Records. I, again, am Kevin Bates, and we are the Safe Neighbor Network team. Here in Sherwood, this is a Sherwood team that we've put together, compiled these documents. Our hope is March 3rd. We're going to have, it's not our hope, we are scheduled for March 3rd at 6 p.m. for an actual training allies to help our neighbors. So we're going to actually walk comprehensively through this material. There are some resources. We can get you some of these slides if you want them. There are books over here on the counter. Sharia, raise your hand. Please check those out with her if you're interested in these materials. If you're interested in actual documents, we can produce those for you and get those digitally to you soon. So let's start with Jake. And Jake is the why.
Did you want to start with the documents first? Because we have.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Adam, you want to put these slides up? We are working with 4 documents. Some of these are from the Oregon Law Center and the Latino Network, and some of these are created by us, the Sherwood Safe Neighbor Network team, and they're compiled together. So I'm all about gleaning things, and it's not plagiarism if you're taking it from 5 different places. So we're all about gleaning. We are using 4 main documents for our neighbors, and the first document is the Sherwood Supplement. If you want to throw that up there, this is the document.
Oregon Family Supplement.
Oregon Family Supplement. Sorry, Adam.
Nope.
No, that's okay.
Oregon Family Law. Sorry,
That's okay.
There
we go. This is the Oregon Family Supplement. This is the supplement that actually none of this team has seen the branded version, because this came to me at 1 a.m. This morning. So this is our new branded. Thank you, Mackenzie. Yes. This is our branded Protect Your Family Guide. This goes along with the Oregon Law Family Protection Guide. And so this is the Sherwood Supplement that we are working with. Go to the next slide.
Direct him which one?
This is the Oregon Law.
The first one you showed.
The first one you showed. There we go. This is the Oregon Law Center Latino Network Guide. This is the Protect Your Family Guide. So those 2 work in tandem with one another. So the Sherwood Supplement and this Oregon Guide, these are 2 documents that we're using for families. Go to the 3rd slide.
Direct him which one?
If detention happens. This is a guide for families and supporters if detention happens. So we have the Oregon Law Guide, we have the supplement that we've created, we have this if detention happens that we've created, and then go to the last slide, and the Ally Companion script. The script is giving you the tool to talk people through this material and these guides. So we're using these 4 guides, these 4 documents to help people first prepare, because in an immigration court, a person walks in, they're detained, so they are in a jail suit. They hopefully have a lawyer and represented. If not, they're sitting there by themselves. They sit before an immigration judge, and basically they're asked 3 things. First is, are they a flight risk? Are they going to run? Are they going to show up to their next court date? Second is, do they have the money to post their bond? And that bond, we've seen prices anywhere from $7,000 to $25,000 to post bond, and it's real cash. It's not, put up 10%, it's put up 25 grand. So are they a flight risk? Do they have a record? Are they a criminal? What is the story there? Number 2 is, do they have the money to post bond, and what is that bond? And so the judge determines the bond and the lawyers determine the bond. And then number 3, do they have some kind of pathway to some form of permanency? Are they in the system? Have they worked through immigration? Are they on a pathway to a green card? Are they on a pathway to a work visa? Are they on a pathway to permanency, permanent resident, or citizenship? So what is their plan of being here long term? So number 1 is, are they a flight risk? Number 2, do they have the cash? And number 3, are they on a pathway to permanency? Those 3 questions need to be answered. With these documents, with a dossier that they can put together with these documents, they can start to show that they're not a flight risk, that they have the cash, and that they have a pathway to permanency. And those are the 3 questions that we're trying to help people to answer. Does that all make sense? Yes. All right, great. Now let's move to the why.
We will have questions at the end. So if you do have questions for us, please use the paper in front of you and we'll go through it. If we start with the why of this team, I don't know if we quite said it.
Not yet.
On this one, but we had a friend that was detained that needed help. And so another friend reached out And so we started gathering resources together to try to figure out what this person needs. Through our contacts at Symposium and different stuff, we knew political officials that we could rely on, and then create a system to, if you are detained, if you are in fear of detainment, what do you need to do? There is so much noise out there, so many resources, so much information that's being thrown at people that it is hard to decipher what actually needs to get done, what they need to do, what documents they need in place, how to secure them. And so that's the story of why we're up here, is we weeded through all that stuff to try to figure out what really needs to happen, especially before detainment, and then how to transfer that over to the correct people. These are real people, as Kevin said earlier, real flesh and blood. Had a friend that was detained, but now we're working with other people as well that are in fear of detainment. One person that another friend reached out to me about and that we sat down with has been in the country for 26 years. They're 28 years old. They've been on.
Most people that we're dealing with, helping, are in the country for.
Are you muted?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think you're good. Okay.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Are in the country for 25 years. We know somebody that's in the country for 35 years. These are people that, it's not, I've been here for 2 years. It's
Correct.
This person that is on 4 rounds of DACA is 28
years old.
28 years, and they've been in the country since 2.
Correct. They've been in the country since 2, and they applied for the latest DACA work visa 3 months ago, paid the money, and have not received their work visa. Laid off from their job. They run programs for at-risk youth in our county. This is a real person giving back, paying taxes, contributing to society. It's not a one-off thing. As policy changes, it's really hard to navigate what policy to follow. And so this person said to me, once they got DACA, they knew that it wasn't forever. And so now that we're at the end of forever, what do we need to have in place in case they are detained? We're hoping and praying that they get their work visa. It has not come back yet.
Can I also add that a lot of these people are doing things the right way? I keep hearing that and seeing those comments. If you only did things the right way, they wouldn't be in trouble.
Correct.
This young man was doing everything he was supposed to every time he was supposed to.
Yeah, definitely. And some language issues. No person is illegal. Their status might not be legal, but they are not illegal. A lot of these people came here legally, and their status has changed while they were here. We're seeing that a lot with temporary protective status right now. So as legality changes while they're in place doing what they're supposed to do, how do we help them progress forward?
Can we define some things there? Because temporary protective status is something that's given to, like, the Haitians came under temporary protective status because there was something happening in their country, and so that's issued. Refugee status is if this region is declared by the United States a refugee zone, then that's why refugees come. The difference between immigrant and refugee is the declaration of the area that they're coming from is a refugee zone. And then there's the immigrant that came across, that came with the right documents, applied, DACA, whatever the paperwork was that they filled out, they came over, and all of that is up for grabs, meaning it's changing. So temporary protective status, DACA, and even green cards, what we used to call green cards, work visas, things like that are being canceled, are being questioned, or are not being renewed for some of these people. Then there are the groups of people that have come across, have crossed the border without documents. And so I believe that it gets kind of hot.
Which could be DACA and Dreamer and stuff.
Yeah, which gets that hot conversation happening. Well, these people came across, they ran across, in the desert or something like that, however they came across. So that's a whole nother group of people as well. So so the why is these are all human beings and we need to treat them as such. So how do we treat them?
And also to be clear, these are civil penalties. These are not criminal penalties. And so we're talking about running the border, talking about being here with a legal status. Those are civil penalties. And I believe John gave the statistic last week about how many criminals vis-a-vis just normal people have been picked up, people with a criminal record. It's like 97%.
Huge percentage don't even have a criminal history.
John said a huge percentage don't even have a criminal history. You can go back, what? 74%? Okay, thank you. 74% of all people detained have no criminal record, which also means tickets. And so also think about that as well. Why prepare? Why prepare is so that your children will know who's going to pick them up. Your family knows where the important documents are stored. And so a lot of what we're talking about is getting these important documents together so that when you are detained, somebody can hand that over to legal authorities so that everyone can step into the process. Emergency numbers are written down. Where does your car go? Who pays your rent? Kevin talked about this earlier. Who's taking care of your finances? Because you could be gone for a very long time. How do you do all this? What legal documents need to be in place? Preparation turns panic and chaos into stability and a lack of fear. We're trying to combat fear and chaos. Most undocumented people work. People are detained. People are detained, work a lot. And there's a direct economic impact on our local community by people that have been detained. Many pay taxes, raise families, have kids in school, serve their communities. They build churches, businesses, and neighborhoods. These are our neighbors. Preparation is not an admission of wrongdoing. It's the same logic of buying insurance, as Kevin has said, that we need to prepare for the worst to happen, even though the worst may never happen to us. Preparation also, most importantly, protects our children and families. So what do we need to have in place so that when we are detained, who's taking care of our families around us? Who's taking care of our community? It also restores our agency. When we have these documents in place, we become an actual person to people.
That's a psychological thing, don't you think? That there's a psychological change when we prepare.
Correct.
Our brain changes.
It restores human dignity.
Right.
That we can't just place a number on a person. They have to start seeing a person with a name attached to people with advocates at very high levels. So that's our goal. How do we advocate for them at very high levels so that there's going to be a form on the documents we have, you fill it out, it goes to our federal congressional congresswoman, and then she files that as soon as it's detained so that she's able to step into the process. That becomes an actual person. That becomes a person to the system. Sorry, the printer was out of paper this morning, so I'm working off of a cell phone. And I'm bouncing everywhere because I have to keep logging in, so please forgive me. But it also builds your community's strength. It feels good to start getting letters of support when you're here without status. This is all not a psychological game, but it just builds who you are as a person because you are important. I think that's what we're trying to also communicate, that everybody came here for a reason, whether that's fear, whether that's financial stability. We've heard lots about cartels, especially in other countries as well. Progress for family. That's, if I'm not even going to do it, there we go. So everybody's here for a reason. How do we prepare? Why is that? It's because we want to restore our own human dignity and not live in fear, don't hide. We don't need to hide. John also has statistics with that as well. Non-criminals are being picked up because they're easy to find.
Mhm. So when somebody is in detainment, if they do not have certain paperwork in place, people cannot talk to them. So there are certain paperwork, privacy documents that need to be filed in order for others to get access to them. They can have access to an attorney, and they can usually have access to like one family member. And so that family member can contact them, but no one else can contact them. So real life scenario is we know somebody that's been in the country for probably 30 years, a very successful business person that many of you have probably been to their business. Now, we're not revealing names and businesses here, right? But this is a real life scenario. This person probably has a team of 25 employees. They had work visas in place, they had their work permits in place, and those were canceled. So now this person is living in an undocumented situation. They have a family, they have children. This person could be picked up as an undocumented immigrant. There is a big chance that that person could be picked up, right? Successful business person, you can't put a certain look or a certain attribute on that person. They just walk around like everybody else. They look like everybody else. They're driving like everybody else. They've been in the country for 30 years. What were you doing 30 years ago? I don't even remember what I was doing 30 years ago. But this person came over 30 years ago and has lived in this country seamlessly. No tickets, no records, no nothing, right? These people are being picked up. If that person was put in detainment, the only person at that point that could call him would be his wife. That's the only person, and a lawyer. So for advocacy, for who's going to run the business, who's going to pay the payroll and make sure that the business has continuity to it. There's things that need to happen regardless if you're in jail or not. If you're running something that's that successful, you need to have access to people. And so that person could be deported to a country that they haven't been in since basically a little kid or ever. There's some people that say or ever.
It's ever, yeah.
Yeah, they don't even have any connection to the towns that they are from or their family is from. So it can happen. Why prepare is if these documents are in place, congressional, state officials, lawyers, business partners, people can contact them at that point to make sure that their life is intact, and they can start working a process of permanency again. As those things are canceled, they can be reinstated and started over.
Also, preparation is about education. So
Yeah.
educating yourself, knowing your rights is essential. So while you're on a United States soil, you have rights of due process, right of remaining silent, right? And lots of things that you have, especially in the detainment process, that you need to understand. Like, for example, you do not need to open your door if you get a knock unless it's a judicially signed bench warrant, which is much different than most people have on traffic stops. You do not need to open your door. And so knowing your rights, establishing who has control over what is super important. And that's why we're starting with the why. It's about safety, it's about survival, opportunity, family, and stability. It also says that your life matters, your family matters, your children matters. And if you can't control the outcome, you know at least the process that you're having to go through. Preparation is not surrender, it's strength, it's stability, it's thoughtfulness, it's practicality, and it's love on all sides of things.
Well, let's move into our table talks. Let's take a break. So maybe we're a little nervous to talk with the people around our table, and that's okay. If the back row, if you want to join a table, you're more than welcome to, or you can talk amongst yourself and have the back row conversation. There's going to be some questions. There are 6 questions up here with 3 different categories. Pick one. Use your discretion of which one you want to talk about.
You can move around if you need to see it more.
You can move around too, yeah, if you need to see it. But there's going to be 6 questions. Take your time. If you don't get through all 6 questions, it's okay. It's not a requirement. This is just your time to discuss this topic of why prepare and why is it important to prepare. Take the 6 minutes now. It's okay that you didn't make it through all those questions. That's totally expected. We probably could spend the next 5 years on one question when it comes to this topic. We're going to move into what we're calling children and continuity, and Colleen Thompson's going to lead us through that discussion. Children are very important in this, and that's priority for us, that the children are protected in these cases. And we personally have been involved in a detainment that had and that affected a child. And so we learned a lot about children continuity through this. So Colleen, why don't you take it and lead us through?
Okay. So last week I told a story about a friend of mine who was detained from this town. And when she was taken away, her teenage son was there with her and stranded in the parking lot by himself, not knowing what to do. And that was traumatizing to him. After that happened, it was in a parking lot where many other families were living and saw that, and they were very scared. What if this happens to me? When we started thinking about how do we want to help in this situation, one of the things I did was I went to someone who works in our district, school district, and she works with many immigrant families in this town of ours. And I said, how can we help? And she said, what the families are coming to me and telling me are, they're scared about their kids. What will happen to their kids? These are people that don't have a lot of money to spend on the legal part of this. What can we do? So we looked into it, and John discovered that there is a law in Oregon called the Delegation of Parental Powers. And gives temporary custody and care that you can designate a delegate to care for your children if something happens to you. Now, that can happen to any of us who are parents, but if you are an immigrant family, that you are at a higher risk for having something happen. And of all the things they're scared about, they're scared, what's going to happen to my children? Because that's traumatizing. And then you're away from them and you can't be with them to help them through that trauma. So it's important to find somebody that you want to stay in your stead if you're not there. It gives them 6 months, up to 6 months have the power to take care and custody of the residents where they're going to be living, their education, and their health care. So you can do it for this paper is in that Oregon law document. So having this document that we have, they can fill that out. And you can have it designated to happen after a triggering moment, which could be detention. So it wouldn't start till then, so that they could have up to 6 months to play that role in your child's life.
Colleen, just really quick, these documents that you're speaking of, that we're all speaking of, are the documents that we are presenting people. And so the slides that we showed, these 4 documents, those are located within those documents. So everything that we're talking about, this is the package that we've put together.
Yeah, we're trying to develop one document for all of us, and we realized, especially after lawyers looked at it, is that Oregon law document put out by Oregon Law Center and Latino Network, the part for children was intact there, and we really didn't need to reinvent the wheel on that. So we decided to use that one. And those documents, if you fill all the stuff in that document, you're okay. But so choosing who is that person going to be, that's a really important decision. It's a decision that any of us, if we have children that are underage, what would happen to them? Who would you choose to play that role? They have to be over 18. They have to be, They don't have to be, but it's best if they are documented themselves. So, and a lot of times your family members, if you're undocumented, if the family members that you might choose might also be undocumented. It doesn't mean that they would not play a role in caring for your child, but you want someone who's going to be in charge of making these big decisions. That person needs to be listed in their emergency contact list at school. You need to make a plan and make your wishes known, write it all out, and find that person. And you have to approach that person. If I asked Jake to be that person for me and I didn't tell him about it, that's a big responsibility I would put on you. No, so you want to talk that over with the person. So things to think about is this is someone that is familiar with them, that they've spent time with your child, that if the residence is going to be in their home, they've been to that person's home before. They've spent time with them. They've maybe picked them up for school before. So if your parent is taken away, that is traumatizing enough to then have somebody that they don't know well. That's not a good choice. You want someone. I am a retired teacher. When I taught kindergarten, that was often kids' first time going to school and being away from their parent. I tried to tell parents ahead of time, spend the summer having them go have a play date with somebody else, because the day you walk away, that can be very traumatizing to them. How much more if their parent was actually detained?
And dysregulating too. So if a child, even just a neurotypical child can get dysregulated, how much more then could dysregulation happen if the child wasn't neurotypical? Yeah. So like now that we have special needs, that even becomes even more important who that person is, right?
Can I interject something?
Yeah.
Kind of put some feet on it as well. In the Tualatin School District, there's a second grade teacher, comes into our shop, frequents it often, and one of her children in the class, their father was deported back to Mexico. Their mother is also non-documented, and so they don't know what's going to happen. They don't have a plan. And so what this teacher asked us is, what should I be doing for this person, this child? Can I kind of push information in their backpack out the door? This is really happening, and especially I think this person is also on the spectrum as well, the little girl. And so helping her process through that has been like very difficult. So the most guardrails that you have in place, it's super important.
Yeah, so they know your child well, too. So if they have some special needs on top of that, know their routine. This is somebody that is going to need to have providing consistency for your child. And so it's a consistent routine. You got to know what that routine is. What's their bedtime routine? Do they have if they're young, do they have a little special blanket that they sleep with? And you didn't know that, and they're traumatized because they don't have their blanket. Food. Some kids have some. You've ever had a picky eater?
No.
Well, knowing what their foods that they like. This is, we talk about comfort food. Well, I've had little friends come and stay with me, and I was fixing a tortilla with cheese and would not eat it. It was the wrong cheese. It's like, let me know what the right cheese is. If there are certain things that is going to help your child feel at comfort, that's got to be a part of your plan. And someone who's going to be understanding of those dysregulated feelings. If a child's parent has been taken away, they're going to have anger, sadness, anxiety. that they might have change in behavior. That's probably likely will happen.
And this team is putting together a consortium of, like, this is why it's called a network, because we're working hard on putting together different resources for this. So if a counselor needs to be involved, or if someone that can step in, a special needs advisor can step in and help children, that's what we're about too. We don't want to just, hey, here's some documents, good luck, be warm, be fed, but we want to put together some real tangible resources.
So a network's going to be important. That doesn't mean that that person, the delegate, is going to play every role, but they're going to help make decisions and know whether a counselor's involved. Another thing is to be able to keep them at the same school. So if you pick someone that lives in a different town, that could cause some issues too, because that teacher is playing an important role, and that's a consistent thing that's happening in their life, and you take that away too. It's just a whole added layer. You want to prepare your children. We don't want to talk about that if something happened to us, but I liken it to fire drills in school. In my entire career, there was never a fire in any one of my schools, but we had fire drill every month for sure. And how we talked about it is that, we're just preparing. This likely won't happen, but if it does, we need to know what to do. So you want to talk to your children about it. From 7 on, often that they can have that sense of reasoning to understand what's happening. So if they're a younger child, you could just say, we have helpers like, let's say, if I pick Jake, like Jake, who, this is actually in the document, who know what to do. If I can't pick you up, you will not be alone. That's what they need to know. 8 to 12, telling them, making sure they know where the number is of that person that you've designated to be the delegate. Teenagers, letting them know the whole thing so that they know where the documents are. These are where we keep the documents so that they can be prepared. From the story that I told last week, it's like, if this happens when you go to school, or this is who you go talk to right away about this, so that they aren't trying to figure out this traumatic experience on their own. You want someone who's going to have some idea about trauma-informed care. Now, a counselor is going to be best for that, but just knowing some basic things like they might have some developmental delays. Young kids might lose language skills, toileting skills. They might not be sleeping at night. They might have physical headaches and stomach aches. They might be extra fearful. They might lose concentration, especially if they're not sleeping at night. If they were there during the event, there's fear, but older kids sometimes feel guilt or shame that they didn't do more to help protect their parent. So helping them through all those things.
Go ahead, John. Yeah.
As you were speaking, I was reflecting that what we're really talking about for the children is the traumatic loss of a parent. It's a tremendously ambiguous situation. I feel like the child's world is shattered, particularly if they're present when the parent is put in handcuffs and taken away.
We do have next month, our next conversation is about trauma-informed resiliency practices. 2 professors from George Fox are joining us for that discussion. So it is related, not directly, but there is some opportunity to join in again on, what we can do just as people to walk alongside people that are involved in a traumatic situation. I think continuity is key. That a child knows something is happening. Number one, they need somebody to tell them the real story so that they don't make up a story in their head. And that's traumatic in and of itself. But that continuity even if we don't know what's happening, we do know what's happening with them. You're going to school tomorrow at 8 o'clock. You know, you're coming home. You're still going to sports practices. You're still doing your music lessons. So somebody that can do those things to create that continuity, I think, is important, right? Yeah. Well, let's take another 6 minutes. We have 6 more questions up on the screen. These are, of course, 2 highly emotional situations that we've given you here. And so there's some time to process that around the table. And then our next session will be about adults and some practicality with adult preparation. So let's take the 6 minutes. I know you won't make it through all those questions, but pick one and decide on which ones you want to cover around the table. Take that time. All right, let's bring those thoughts to a close and your attention back here. If you notice over here, there's some people cooking in the kitchen. And every month during these next conversations, we feed and do about 150 to 180 servings of lunch to a houseless community in Portland. And so we provide that once a month here out of this lodge kitchen. So that's something that we do during this time. So that's the clanging of pans and why it smells good. And it's barbecue pork sandwiches today. So I'm really excited to at least
but it's good.
check it out. And so it's Home PDX is the group that we work with in our area. This here is our resource book area. And if you want some of those resources, you can. A couple of other announcements is March 3rd is our training for allies. Somebody came up to me and said, can anyone come? Anyone can come, yet it might, I mean, we're going to dig deep into this material. So if you want to dig deep into this material, you're more than welcome to come. Cooper Mountains, 6:00 p.m. on March 3rd. If that is not of your interest, then that's not of your interest. But if you want to, come talk to us and we can give you more information about that. We have Cooper Mountain Brew House is right over here. Chris and Christine Cholene.
We will actually
gave
open
us.
these documents up and walk through them with a script.
Right.
So that's the biggest delineation between today versus the 3rd.
This is just an introduction and a kind of a overview of what we're doing. And you can drink beer and have a good time and just hang out if that's what you want to do.
They're not open, so
Oh,
that
yeah,
depends
that's
on
true.
Chris.
I've got to find out if they will. All right, so round 3. This is the adult side of things. John Records is with us today, and he is going to talk us through just adult side logistics and what it means to have these things in place. John is a retired lawyer and has worked in advocacy for many marginalized people groups across the United States. And he came to us months and months ago and has been a part of our community and has been a huge help in this action because we needed legal help and guidance as we walk through these materials. So John, take it.
Thank you, Kevin. Could we have the first slide, please? By the way, I must admit 2 things, that I'm actually a reformed lawyer and that I'm from Newburgh. I'm an honorary Sherwoodian, but some of us are from out of town. So regarding the adult side logistics, none of this is really rocket science, and most of it is what we should be doing anyway. Like if you have a will directed to physicians, any of us could get sick or have an accident at any time. And most of what we're offering here are things that the people who are looking out for you in that situation would very much want to have access to. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just an overview of the topics I'm going to touch on. The first one is the materials that we're offering help to determine who the person is, right? You've got to be able to identify them to interact with the system. What their finances are like, what their digital world is like, and then how to interact with Congress or your congressional representative and a couple of agencies to help out if and when one is detained. Next slide, please. Thank you. We call this the Adult Emergency Dashboard. There are 2 pieces of it. Who are you? And then kind of like, who are you medically? So the people who will be in your support system, if you're detained, they need to know your actual full name, your date of birth, and your country of birth, and also something called your A number, like the letter A number. That is kind of like a social security number. It's got the same kind of 323 or 324 digits to it. And it's assigned to anybody who has any kind of significant connection with the immigration system. So you could find it on a green card, on a work visa, if somebody is applying for citizenship. That number is so important because that's how the person is recorded within the system. Each person has a unique number. There are a lot of people with the same names, but if you've got their number, then you're in a position to ask them to find somebody within the system. So that's why that is so important. We have up there the notion of having an immigration attorney and their name and their contact information. Some people have that because they're already in a process of seeking citizenship. Others don't. And the materials we're providing will help people to access that. Just to plug again the notion of, like, any of us could be allies, right? We can use our own experience in life and perhaps our own working through these forms to help other people do that too. As we've engaged with it, here's the reformed lawyer looking at this. It's an intimidating process, even for someone with a professional background in intimidating processes. So it's really good to have allies, to have it broken down step by step. And the aggregate, you can go through this stuff, all of it through, maybe in 90 minutes, if people have all their paperwork, or that can be broken up into smaller modules. But the point is that it would be challenging for most people to walk this alone. With regard to medical and documents, we need to know your current medications and doctor. There have been sad instances where people were not able to get their prescription medications into the detainment facility, particularly since those change around. I'm on a blood thinner. Probably there's some people in the room who are on insulin. These are life-maintaining medications. So it's very important for the support people to know where to find that and to have at least the intention of getting it to the detained person. And hopefully the detained person could notify their people detaining them of what their needs are in this regard.
Courtney Neron had a real life example of that, where she found out through having access to the person that was detained. So a document was filled out and given so that she could have access to this person. That person told her, I don't have my insulin. And they were already, days into being in detainment, if you can imagine. And so she personally ran that to Tacoma up to that person. We have a great congressional body of people that we have access to. And that's a real life example. That's life threatening.
I was actually shocked and so happy that Courtney Neron would take her own personal time to run the medication up to Tacoma.
Right.
Like 5 hours each way.
Close, yeah, 4 hours. Yeah.
What a representative. Keep in mind here that we're not giving all this stuff to ICE unless we're going to pass medications on to them. These are materials that the trusted person needs to keep. As an aside here, you can infer that we're putting a pretty heavy burden on the trusted person or persons. It might be sensible to have a trusted person with regard to children and somebody else who handles this logistic stuff. Those two would need to coordinate, but they must be really deeply trusted for some of the reasons you're going to see in the next slide. So for financial protection, we're looking at two main elements, the durable power of attorney and also about getting bonded. Oregon, and I think probably every other state, provides for something called the durable power of attorney. This is a prescribed form. You can download it for free online. We provide a copy of it in the materials. And what it lets you do is to designate somebody who has the capacity, the legal authorization to open a bank account if there isn't one, to deposit checks, to manage an existing bank account, to pay bills. All those are the financial things that need to be kept going to maintain some life continuity. This is a different document from the one that Colleen mentioned with regard to the delegation of authority for kind of parental authority for a child. Separate documents, neither does what the other does. You really need to have both. This document expires in a year. So one of the things I'm concerned about, we haven't really talked about as a team, is that you get all this stuff in place and then it sits on the shelf for 12 or 13 months and then the documents are no longer valid.
Right.
So we'll have to think about how to
Update.
back people up for that.
Yeah.
With regard to bond information, if a person gets a hearing, and not everybody does, there's the opportunity to get a bond which can let them out of incarceration pending the next step of the process. I think in the situation with Colleen's friend, the bond started at $20,000 or $25,000. It was negotiated down to $7,000 or $8,000 by the person's attorney and by the federal prosecutors. It's a lot of money to come up with. I think a lot of people crowdfund it among friends and family. There are bond companies that will help with that, but they charge a big fee for it. So in theory, if the person has the money in the bank or in other investments, then the person with the durable power of attorney could access that and pay the bond, which must be done with a certified check made out to the Department of Homeland Security. No Venmo, no PayPal, no personal checks. Pretty strict process. Next slide, please. For digital security, now here's where you're going to want to really trust your trusted person, right? Because you're giving them the digital keys to your life. Think what would happen if you lost your phone. Oh, think of all the stuff that's on there. Well, this is the kind of stuff that we're encouraging you to leave in writing so that people can get into your accounts to do what needs to be done. Email might need to be managed, social media accounts. You might have electronic banking and so forth. Now, I'm imagining that most people who are detained have their phone on them, and then it becomes a little problematic as to what happens next. But at least the trusted person has the information so they could log in online to do this kind of thing. There's also medical portals and school portals that people would want to work with. Next slide, please. We call this congressional intervention, and it's been touched on already. And we have a couple of other kind of grab bag items in here. It seems to be so very, very important for the people in the federal government system to feel that someone's looking over their shoulder. I personally am convinced that in the instance where we all went up to Tacoma to support Colleen's friend, that the vigorous intervention by Courtney Neron and also the federal people changed the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
She was not, Colleen's friend was not transferred to another facility, and the majority of people were transferred out in the night, if I recall correctly. So knowing that they'd be accountable to an elected representative who would say, hey, what's going on here? I think that may put a thumb on the scales of justice in a good way. There's a privacy form, or excuse me, a privacy release form that we include in our packages. You can download those. You search for immigration privacy release. My paranoid side says that if you download it, then there's a record of that someplace. So I'll stand up, I'm on the books again. We want to get those filled out ahead of time. We're providing pre-printed versions that have the name of the representative. So the congressional representative would be Representative Salinas for this area. The state senators represent the entire state. So somebody from outside this area could readily put down a state senator's name.
We have Andrea Salinas.
Yes.
We have at the state level, we have Courtney Neron, Ben Bauman, Dr. Sue Reiki Smith. We have local elected officials.
Right.
They all participated in this one action we were a part of, but also have promised in the future to participate as well.
That's a huge plus. Kudos to those people for stepping up. Some people might want to give this thing to ICE. Don't do that ahead of time. This trusted person provides it to ICE after the detainment.
Can I jump in there, John? On the form, it says to mail to Homeland Security, CBT or ICE.
Thank you. Yeah.
Don't follow that instruction until you have to.
Yes. Yeah. And don't do it until after the detainment because it'll get lost. And we talked with staff of one of the representatives and said, don't even give it to us before detainment. A trusted person holds it. Two of the things up here I'll just touch on briefly. We do recommend that the IRC, or sometimes called the PRC hotline, be contacted if someone's detained, and also to inform the ACLU of Oregon, because both of those entities can maintain not only just an individual record of what something's happened, but an aggregate which can identify patterns of behavior that might have some legal implications for the people who are being concerned. Final emphasis here is that all this that we're talking about here needs to be on paper. People ought not to rely on email or a PDF or something. Have it on paper, have it written down, and make sure that the trusted person, someone you really trust. Thank you.
I think preparation is a powerful tool, and it reduces, I guess, chaos, stress, but also there is something too, when you get your will done, you go, okay, and you can move forward. When you're under that amount of anxiety and stress, there is something to that when we have these things in place. What's really interesting about this process that this team went through for me is I have gone through my own personal things. And if you want to go be an ally of something, that's an important process for you to go through personally. Do I have these things in place so that I can teach other people how I put these things in place? So I've actually gone through some of my important documents and things that I hold and say, well, where is that document? I put it in my manila envelope and put it in the safe. You know, there's certain things that I did that I can now teach other people. So as we use the words, you need to do this and you need to do that, actually, we all need to do this. But
you're not leaving here today until you fill out the form.
Yeah, exactly. So there are certain things that we need
Like a
to do. It's
timeshare.
just human beings to help. You know, if you've ever had somebody pass away in your life and they kind of hand you the shoebox and you're like, great, you know, it's like, thanks for setting me up
It
well.
wasn't a shoebox.
What?
It wasn't a shoebox.
It wasn't a shoebox. It was a truckload. But if you've ever had that happen, you know the stress of taking care of things that are not taken care of. So this is an important step. Let's take the 6 minutes.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Do you talk about the ICS in your presentation? Okay, so there is a sliding scale legal service for immigrants called the Immigrant Counsel Service. And so with all those information as well, it's who we're relying on to provide that help. And so with all that information, also the ICS.
Yeah, ICS is the group that reviewed and previewed all of our documents and gave us, you know, better wordage and said no and yes to certain things on these. So this is all vetted stuff. Go ahead and take the 6 minutes, talk amongst yourselves. There's some questions up here, and then we have one more round, which is very important on advocacy agency and allyship. So let's take the 6 minutes. back to the front. We have one more section, so hang with us for about 10 more minutes, and we can get through this important section. The Kendall Leeper is going to lead us through advocacy, agency, and allyship. She asked right before we ended here, the Q&A, how will this information be available to people? It will be available via a website with a QR code to access the information. It will be available at our trainings, like March 3rd at Cooper Mountain at 6 p.m. We're going to have video training, so that will be us in front of video. That will also be available when we get that done. And so it will be available in different portals that you can access the information. Starting this week, I work with Vision Latin America, who has about 350 faith community churches, Latin faith community churches. And being a pastor, can I just reclaim the message of Christ back to this, that we're loving our neighbor and this is how we love our neighbor? Can I please do that? I mean, it's just gotten super weird out there. But through Vision Latin America, we're working with about 350 predominant Latin churches that basically are not meeting right now, afraid to meet right now, disbanded. And so we're going to start working with them with this material. So I'm pretty excited about that. So Kendall, take us through allyship. You have a powerful story. You've always had a powerful story. So lead us through allyship, agency, and advocacy.
Sure. I am the only one up here on this panel that was not involved in the process of helping Colleen's friend. I came to a talk, I don't know, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Courtney Neron was here. One of the topics that she mentioned was immigration, and I overheard Jake and Kevin talk about putting a task force together. And when I heard that, I said, I want to be a part of that. So they were kind enough to include me. The beginning of my talk starts with a quote I found about transforming your anger into action that ignites change. So it's going to get a tiny bit political, but then I'll move on because I want to give reasons for why I think this is important. Since our current president took office last year, it seems to me, in my opinion, that a lot of things are being done to ruin as many lives as possible in many ways that are available to do so. Like cutting funding for international hunger programs where starving children have no food. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees have lost their jobs. If you live below the poverty line, it's become almost impossible to provide food for your family. They've taken away critical medical and mental health supports for our trans youth. They've invited measles back into our world. That was gone. And I saw recently that there's a big push to produce more pesticides now. So I saw something the other day. That the Maha moms that thought he was saying what was really going to happen, and now they're feeling betrayed. They're killing people in our streets. I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime. And they're rounding up and traumatizing thousands of our immigrant neighbors and detaining and deporting them. And in my opinion, the cherry on the top of this detestable cake is that no one doing this seems to be losing even a tiny wink of sleep over what's happening. Or money. So I was experiencing a lot of feelings over the last year: despair, shock, grief, depression, helplessness, hopelessness, and a really growing intense anger. I don't know if I've ever felt the amount of outrage that I have felt over the last year. I wanted to curl up and shut out the world and pretend it wasn't happening. That's when I came and heard the conversation with Courtney Neron. And I realized that maybe I could take my anger and turn it into action. Action that could make a difference in my own community through advocacy, agency, and allyship. So first I want to talk about advocacy. Advocacy can look a lot of different ways. It can be going to your Capitol, talking to your legislators, trying to change policy. It can also mean advocating for someone who right now doesn't have access to what they need to do it for themselves, or they're too scared to do it for themselves. So for our task force, advocacy started almost accidentally by helping Colleen's friend. It was real, it was urgent, and it was necessary to help someone whose life was upended. I know she's mentioned her friend, but I want to give you a little bit more information. She was picked up in October while taking her son to school. You correct me if I'm wrong with any of these facts. I believe the day before, she'd received a letter finally giving her her court date after 3 years of going through the right process to get her green card. That was 3 years in the working. She was taken into detention in front of her son. I believe you also shared that when the son was upset about the fact that he needed to go to school, the officers laughed at him and thought it was funny. So the day after she got this letter, 8 men surrounded her in her parking lot. They took her to the Tacoma Detention Center. She had no criminal record, not even a parking ticket. And she was taken away. When Colleen found out what had happened to her friend, she called Kevin, who assembled this team that you've heard people talking about today. And fortunately, the efforts were successful to get her released. However, her parting gift is that she has to start her green card process all over again now. She doesn't get to keep all the work she's done. She didn't get to keep that court date. So, following this situation, the people up here, and then I was invited in, thought, how can we help people prepare in case this happens to someone else? How can we plan ahead? Advocacy is how this project started. Agency is a little trickier for me to really figure out how to define, but for me, I think it's about intentionality and ownership, and having personal empowerment over what happens to you and your family. So we are helping people take the reins, make choices that are aligned with their values, and in the case of this network, providing tools for people to make a plan. We're not telling people what to do. We're guiding them through it. We're not judging them for needing to go through this process, so that they can act with purpose and through their own power protect themselves and their families. I kind of like to think this is kind of the old fishing adage that you hear people talk about. I kind of think of it as providing people with the tools, teaching them how to use them to catch the fish, and then letting them do the fishing themselves. Learning and knowing you can catch your own fish brings comfort, confidence, and independence. And that's what we aim to do with this project. That brings me to allyship, which hopefully a lot of people in here will be involved in participating in that way. Allies typically walk alongside people and help them through something. They do things with us and not for us. And again, we're there to assist without judgment. Unfortunately, in these current times, I think a lot of allies these days have white skin and privilege because people with brown skin are afraid or targeted. Yeah, I have a neighbor. She's lovely. She's a young mother. Her daughter is 6. She is from another country, and she has gone through the process to become a legal citizen, and she's afraid. She carries her passport everywhere she goes. She told me the other day she pretty much goes to work, goes to the grocery store, and comes home. She said, I'm afraid to go to Home Depot in my own neighborhood. And I said, let's go together. That's one tiny example of how you can be an ally. So through this network, allyship, it looks like walking people step by step through what can feel like an overwhelming list of preparation tasks. I don't know about you, but when I have something to do that already seems a little intimidating and I get scared or anxious, it seems virtually impossible. Where am I going to start? How am I going to get it done? So as people up here have mentioned, it's gathering your documents, legally appointing people to take over things that you will not be able to do if you're detained, designating a safe place to keep everything in case the unthinkable does happen. So the young man Jake talked about earlier, they walked him through this process. He was ready to send the form to ICE now because he's like, I want to do everything the right way. I'm eager. I want to make sure I do it all the right way. Had he not had the allies with him to tell him, no, you don't send in that form gets sent in if you're detained, he could have drawn attention to himself. And as Jake said, he's a DACA child. He's done everything the way he was supposed to. He did it again this year, and he hasn't received his documents. So I already said that part. Who are my people who don't really love public speaking? You're my people. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Helping our neighbors through this process is a critical piece of getting things taken care of. We're looking for allies to help our neighbors complete these tasks. Kevin will be, I think, giving some information at the end about how you can get involved. If you don't live in Sherwood, maybe at some point you can take these documents that we have put together and adopt them for your own neighborhood. I just learned this a couple of weeks ago, which was already touched on. Part of what happens when you go to court in detention is they ask you if you are a flight risk. Apparently, preparing all of these documents and going through this process helps to prove that you are not a flight risk. It helps prove that you are planning to stay, you have a family here, you have roots here. So it's a vital, I hope people are interested in becoming allies. I know that I am. Okay, I know I said a lot of words here. I believe that through advocacy, agency, and allyship, we can help a lot of people be prepared. And part of what we talk about in our meetings of our purpose is helping as many people as we can through the resources that we have. I also believe that if you are doing anything to help someone to make their lives better, it's never a small thing. Even one thing for one person makes an impact. So I found this quote from Desmond Tutu that I think summarizes how I feel. Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that can overwhelm the world. Mm-hmm. So we can start with our block. We can start with our neighbor. We can channel our feelings, maybe some of them are anger, and put all of our little bits together and ignite change. Thank you.
Thank you. What I love, yes, let's give Kendall yeah. I think that's a very important discussion, Kendall, because one of the things that we hear and listen and are doom scrolling and we just get an ingestion of just toxic material and hateful material and oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening material. And it does make us angry. How do we change that into something like an initiative, or we have a shared history? Kendall and I have a shared history. We're pretty much the same age, and we kind of have a shared history of working with marginalized people groups back in the late 80s, early 90s, and how certain things were happening back then. Anger turning into how do we advocate, right? And so we've had lots of discussions about that across the table. What I love about each person here on this team is we all have very professional credentials, education, careers. We're all involved, skills, all the skills that we have. But the one thing that we share, and the real credential, is we just love people. And there's a very human connection that we have in that, and I really truly love that. There are people today listening from Idaho, there's people listening from Ohio, there's people listening from Washington, California. There are people that are going to be listening to this in Latin communities all over the United States, starting this next week as soon as they get the link. And I'm really excited that they can participate. Because of our words today, they can begin to engage in some of this material. Locally, March 3rd, we're going to be doing the training. So to end, let's just take a couple more minutes. Let's take 3 minutes to discuss this final allyship. But how are you going to be? How do you want, regardless of the questions, because I actually don't know what those questions are right now. How do you want to be involved? How do you want to take your frustration, emotion, whatever's going on inside of you right now? How do you want to be involved? How do you transfer that anger into action? What do you need to do? And what is something small that you want to do? And maybe you just need to write that down on a piece of paper and carry that around personally. Like Desmond Tutu says, carry a rock in your pocket
For
whenever you
forgiveness,
think
yeah.
about things. What'd you say, Jay?
For forgiveness.
Right, right.
Go to the Home Depot with your neighbor.
Don't go to Home Depot. But
Well, sorry. That was her choice, not mine. I'm not advocating that. That was an example. Don't go to the hardware
Right.
store with your neighbor who's
Yeah.
afraid to go by herself because she's brown.
Deliver food. There's so many things that we can do. So just take a few minutes to discuss any questions that you may have on this screen, about 3 minutes, and then we'll close down.